This afternoon, we've got two sessions. I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker. I'm not going to take too much of his time. He's going to introduce himself. But from me, having looked at his biography, I just want to say that I think we're going to be really privileged to listen to someone with a really broad background. I would say a kind of Leonardo da Vinci of hockey, and I hope you don't mind me saying that. But the title of his conference, of his talk, is Slower Coaching for Faster Results, Defense Development Program. Please welcome Paul BOUTILIER. Paul, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for taking the time. We're going to take the next 45 minutes to an hour to try to communicate, everything that I can to transfer some information on a topic that sometimes is under-taught today, and that's the defensive side. We've increased the skill coaches, we've increased talent, but the challenge has been, how do you defend anymore, and how does that change things within the game? So I'll go through a little bit of background. At the end, we hope to answer as many questions as I can and basically communicate as much information as we can. So we've loaded this up pretty good. Some of my background we've talked about. It came from, I went back to school after playing hockey, and this program was developed as far as when I was teaching at the university level. So it has a lot of research to it and has a lot of practical background that sort of combined themselves into an outlook. This was my first sort of boss and mentor when I came into the National Hockey League years ago, and he was a defenseman back in the day, and I was back in the day now as I'm old now, and his version of playing defense was it's limiting your mistakes, so we're not going to make any, and he meant that, and he meant to teach in that way. So that's sort of the background of fundamentals. Sometimes you can get lost a little bit, losing some fundamentals as the modern game has evolved. And some of this is back to Al and his premises and his teachings, but a fair amount is new research and the new way of playing defense. The whole position has changed. The team still sets the record, and I'm proud to be a member of that team for a little while, of 19 playoff series in a row. So I think Tampa won 3 Stanley Cups recently, and they got to 11, and they were almost over halfway. But this team would have won in the old days about 8 Stanley Cups in a row versus the old Montreal Canadiens. So there was it's playing defense and playing the game to win, or just playing defense. And there is a big difference between teams that are coached to play defense and teams that are coached to play defense to win. And that would be the difference. So somebody came along that was pretty good, ended the reign in the final, number 99. Heck of a player, we all know, and basically some things changed from there, and but that was the end of the reign. This was the defense development strategy in the 80s and 90s. As we can see, if you have a 50-goal scorer, just tackle them. And guys that were scoring 50 goals back in the day, now you can't tap hands and you can't do the rest. As the newspaper article said, there was Ski Lafleur and there was no penalty called on the play. So that wasn't a penalty back in the day. And you talk about compete and you talk about, battle. When guys were scoring 50 goals even 25 years ago, it was 50 goals. It might be 100 today, who knows? But the rules have facilitated a much better game, a much faster game, and that's challenging from the defense perspective. How it evolved is a story. You look at now 6 defenders are moving pucks, and a lot of these slides, I'll apologize for them. They're not 1 or 2 word slides because we're communicating this out, and you can take it back and reference it. So the idea when we put it together was to sort of give you the information and for me to try to explain. But if you don't have me in front of you to explain the 1 or 2 words, that's why the slides are loaded up. I took that PowerPoint course years ago. I wouldn't have passed it right now. But in today's game, it's almost as if everybody wants to make plays all the time, and sometimes the glass is a good play, and sometimes you'll see a quote today, even in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where Some of those teams have something in common. They learn to live another day. They make some simple plays. They manage the puck properly, and they do. So it's almost the same kind of premises to winning versus just playing, and there's a big difference. Skilled players on the blue line, ironically, we've all become skilled. We drafted different sizes. Defensemen moved pucks that became this, go play an offense. And some of the plays they're even attempting, in my day, if you attempted those plays, you'd be sent down. Like, the coach used to say, the Hockey News would spend 3 years looking for you. It wouldn't be like you can't even attempt to make those plays. Now the skill is there, and they're making those plays. But, ironically, we've lost a spot on the power play. So as much skill that came into the defensive side, we only have one person, not two anymore on both units. So that's like a 50% cut in what we're talking about. And you talk to young defensemen that are really skilled on teams, and it's like, no, I want to be that player. I want to be the Heiskanen. I want to be, who's that person, the Makars of the world. And do you know how narrow you're narrowing that? We've lost 50% of power play time. So who plays after that? Do we play 2D anymore? Another option, for the 2030s is, maybe we'll have 3D killing a penalty. Maybe we'll have 4D killing a penalty. Maybe we'll have nobody on the power play in the back end. Maybe the coaches will get fed up and just say, hey, I just want 5 forwards, and people have tried that. So, it's a variety of philosophies. What I'm trying to say is some things to win in the end are still this common ground that you need to focus on and not lose track of it, because it can't be inconsistent and it needs to be relied upon. I ask a lot of players, there's one player or some players I ask, where's the one spot you can shoot the puck and get a full change? And I watched the Austrian-Finland game yesterday, and they were icing the puck frequently, and they were doing that. And if you look at the walls and the boards here, the benches extend well down into both zones, into the offensive and defensive zone, depending on which way you're playing. You can fire it into your own bench and get a full change. You can still do that, right? I don't know why guys are attempting. You can't go over the glass, can't do something else. But ironically, we experimented with this process, and if you have it in your mind, you tell the players, and unless they get the repetitions and unless they're doing the work, and you'll hear more of that, what ends up happening is they say, yes, I got it, coach, but they don't actually execute on it until you set up a drill and you give them some reps. So we've had teams that set up a drill, or you get into a new rink, or you're having a tournament like this, and you just ask the trainers to get away from the bench, and the D, panic after 45 seconds, and instead of icing it or flipping it or trying that, they just rocket it right into the bench, right? And most of the time you'll always get a player that says, what happens if I hit the coach? And then they go, oh, that would be okay anyway. Because it's kind of like, oh, well, I'll just fire it in, it'll be a great play. And most times, very few players do that, but my guys tend to know that, and you just have it in your back pocket. So when I walk into a rink, the first thing if you're Austria or something, it's like, by the way, that bench goes well into the D zone. If you don't have anywhere to go and you only have a half a second, fire it in there, get a full change. And then most people say, what was that play? And then they go, oh, that was really smart. And it's just a way. Maybe there'll be a penalty for that down the road as they keep trying to speed the game up. Challenges we've had as far as the defensive side of the game. Skills coaches are way up, right? So everybody's into the skills, and the rest of it, they're doing the things. Physicality's down for a different reason I'll discuss. Penalty thresholds we talked about is way up, and I'm not going to read those, but you can get a penalty pretty easily today. So it even makes it more important to play defense and how your mind sees the game and how you position yourself from a posture standpoint, and I'll explain that in the next slide. Small area games were invented. What a great hit. All the coaches was great, small area games. So as a D guy, you practice making sure the gaps are great. You make sure your posture's great all week. And then just before the games in the morning skate, we're going to do a small area game. And it brings the defense all back down to playing stick on puck. And everybody's, lost the whole week of practice all of a sudden because of a small area game. Sometimes my guys, it's like, don't play those close to the weekend. It's like, because it makes it into a shinny game, and we're not trying to play shinny back there. We're actually trying to pin you. You can still hit and use your gear in this sport. You can actually pin somebody, but you can't lose the reps on what you're trying to do structurally within your defensive game by playing a ton of small area games. They're fun, but be careful where you play them, right? When you play them. Expertise has been limited, I believe, in this area. Everybody just opens the door, and the head coach is kind of, it's like you can't talk to the head coach and just keep everybody in front of you, and the game changed for the D. So the understanding and what we're trying to do is communicate some of that here today and transfer the information, because you see too much of it at all levels, and we talk about it not only in the amateur side, but right through to the pro side, and you'll see it across the street here. Terminology misunderstandings when you go in and ask. I have a bunch of clients on a bunch of different teams, and you can kind of, ask players, how they're playing, what are they playing, terminology. Do you play the squeeze, for example? They call it in different areas, and some players will give you the answer, well, sometimes we do. And sometimes is a really bad word. Sometimes means you're out of the playoffs, right? It's kind of like you're either playing the squeeze or you're not, or you're doing something. So it's kind of the terminology and what they're trying to learn and how quick they're trying to learn it. It's all packaged up, and they don't really understand the layers on the onion. Tracking, what's that mean? Stick on puck, what's really that mean? A lot of the players have a tough time with those concepts. So simple is fast, and you're trying to build, not actually just be the smartest person in the room. Skilled players, forwards, there's limited guys with puck ability, and then posture to defend is limited. And you get into that, posture is the biggest one of the fundamentals. So we did some research. I was out of the hockey business for 15 years, did some other things, which really helped me look at the experience, sporting experience in hockey specifically from a cultural aspect, as a new thing, and how you treat people, and how you get people to learn, and how do players, are you being told all the time? So we studied a lot of that and researched it from outside of the game. And it was good to take a break and then understand how people get treated and why they don't enjoy the sport and why they don't kind of move along because, I don't like this or I don't like that. And it lowers confidence and lowers enjoyment around the sport. Even the American Hockey League, when I was there, I did a couple of surveys around, and most of the time they have no confidence and they're really upset because they've lost their confidence over time, and it's really not something you can build on. Built it into a bunch of principles of outcomes that simplified a curriculum. That was sort of the goal. It took a year and a half. Culture of care was part of that. I just talked about it. I know we've had experts here know that business. I've read their papers since we've coming over. It's done the same kind of thing. Be really careful on how you manage your players and how you go about it today. 18 months, David Poyle was the first guy to sort of look at the whole program and sort of say, yeah, I like this. I can understand where it was. A couple of clients, it built up the last decade, and now I get the opportunity to manage guys on the back end over, $130-some million on contract. So it's kind of like that's who I work for. I work for them, and I work for some top-end amateurs. David Reinbacher from Austria has been a client for 2 years, and Matthias Havlet. And some of the video here today will just be from those players of how to actually what we're teaching and develop and show you some of those principles that I believe that the defensive game needs to be taught from. Peter DeBoer, real successful coach, been praised to be another, moving towards another final, and it says you got to still defend, you still have to get the puck back. We all know that, but it's kind of there's stuff that, it still becomes I have to play great defense to get the puck back as quick as I can and get on it. What the program is not, and it's not a structural defensive system, so it's not something where I walk in and challenge your coaching staff with how you want to play. It's basically underneath. It supports everything around it. And the company's name is 44 Seconds primarily because in a 45-second shift, most people coach the 1 second where a player has the puck, where they make mistakes. And really, my focus is on the 44 seconds before you get the puck, where you don't have the puck. What can you do more of it? So it's really a mental program that's designed to slow the mind down by doing more earlier, and there's more people that can do that. Players' minds, that's what it's focused on. How do you slow your player's mind down at the point of execution so the execution speeds up and their mental side slows down, right? That's the challenge as you go up the levels. You want to play under 20, you want to play under 18, under 16. The next level, no matter where you're at, is how do you slow that person's mind down enough at execution so it's fast and simple and they can speed up. That's how you gather the levels. That's how you can make plays. And some players, and so give them the right information, but you're really trying to teach them earlier in the shift. You'll hear me talk about eyes in the video a fair amount. What do you see? Ask your players all the time when they're scanning or they're doing something, what do you see there? You're important. You're an important resource. How did you see these types of things? What are you seeing there? Some players don't see enough. Some players see too much. Some players don't know what to look for. Some players are overlooking. It's all through what their mind processes through their eyes. And that's the big one we'll talk about in the first video, but it's more of how they process through their eyes to act. So it's like mind, process, act. It's kind of like, well, what are you seeing? And when are you seeing it? And defense is a series of taking pictures, right? So when you play defense, when the puck transitions off the ozone blue line and things move, it's basically a series of, there's your first picture. And then you readjust to that. So what do you see from there and how are you acting? So it's all around that. When should you scan and why? And the other issue that the title of the talk today was slow down. We're teaching too much too fast. It's like you go to university, you get all your books at once. We got one coach behind the bench when I played, now there's 5. Everybody's trying to help. We're all here because we want to be better coaches and we want to help, and that, it's a credit to every one of us in here. But the idea is slow down. A lot of the times I get a lot of players that are over-taught and don't understand anything. And they got to go way back now. I got to go back to junior high, got to go back to high school and teach it again, and so they understand. So sometimes it's just a matter of verifying what your players know and teaching a concept at a time. And sometimes I advise coaches, yes, you're right, they're doing this wrong, but it's not the time to bring it up. They're working on these 2 elements. I know you're right, but you can't bring it up now. It'll be confusing. So it's layered, and how you go about that is critical to laying out a program for your team. Talked about it, slow your mind down. Right in the 44 seconds. So we developed this program that came out, and it's for individuals and it's for a team based over an annual basis, and I'll talk about that. The person is really important. I send out a PDF file through our app here, and I think every one of you have got that a few minutes ago, but it's background information on things I'm trying to help you with and show you. Sometimes as a coach, it's like, show me something. What's it? How's the standard? What are players doing? And who are these people? So when you enter into the program, and you can do it for your own teams, it's just get them to write a who am I statement. And a who am I statement is everything about them as a person, but basically nothing about hockey. We already know the hockey piece, but who are they? Food, likes, and you send an example of a player out in British Columbia, just one, but you can learn so much about the person so quickly by just asking for who they are. And it's amazing the different people and their backgrounds and why they're doing it and what they say. Some players write a page, some players write 15. That tells you something. Some players write in a book, some players write it on my notes. Some players do this. Well, it's telling you something as a teacher, of who they are as a person and what motivates them, because we all learn differently. We're all so different, and that's one first step. The premise of playing defense is you play them mentally. What I see with bad fundamentals and bad posture in most arenas is the defense is getting played by the forwards. We're reacting. We're not acting. There's not a plan in place. So we're a plan in place, keep 5 guys in front of us, or hey, play the one-on-one. But it doesn't feel like, because there's certain elements within all that group of D that don't give you the feeling like they're in control, right? The goaltending position 30 years ago was like that. Go in the net, there was no coaching, stop a bunch of pucks, I don't care if you get hurt, the next guy goes in, whatever. The next girl goes in. Now, there's 5 people around the goalies. I don't know if the head coach can talk to a goalie anymore. It seems that way. It's like, oh, geez, he's working on stuff. But they changed their position and studied it and worked at it Before practice and everything, they worked at it to get it to a stage where they feel they're in control. They have a plan. They've reduced their spots from 5 to 2. And if you sit in a goalie meeting, and I'll tell some defensemen that are trying to generate more offenses, you ever sat in a goalie meeting? No. Well, they're the enemy. They're trying to stop you. It's easy to go get a coffee and sit in a goalie meeting. Figure it out. What are they trying to do? Has forwards ever sat in the D meeting? No, don't know what to. When are we in a tough spot in a 2-on-1? So you can transfer the information through the groups, and players just need to be inquisitive but you have to present an environment, that's a safe environment to do so and to ask questions and to feel vulnerable that they can actually get out and do those things. Posture we talked about. These are the basis of it. The players will put in as much work or more than I do or the coaching staff if you run the program properly. Gap process off the ozone blue line. How do you simplify that? What's the best way of doing it? Best ice principle is another one to look at. And I'll touch on a few of these and try to give you some video and some references around them. Teaching how to assess their own video. How many teams have video to the players? Oh, did you watch the video? Oh yeah, I watched all my shifts. What do you look for? I don't know. Did you watch your shifts last night? Yeah. What'd you look for? Don't know. Did you play okay? Yep. What aspect? Don't even break it down offensively, defensively. Don't even teach them how to assess, like you, coach and staff, assess their own video. Get them to reply back. And actually, I gave you some PDF files on players on a monthly report or a weekend report. Take the topics you're trying to teach and get them to reply back to you in writing, ironically. And it's amazing what you'll find as a coaching staff. It's like, oh, wow, didn't know that person, he really understood or she really understood that concept. And then the next person really didn't understand the concept. And then you can work with them one-on-one and go from there. I tried to give you some examples, and I'm just trying to share all the information I can because I'm trying to do the best job we can for you over here. Game management, hear a bit of that. That's an advanced topic in the end. It's more, but teach that towards the end of the year. Bench management, it's like a player can learn from the bench. The 44 seconds I talk about, what you can see and what you can learn before. Players, when they sit on the bench, I'll ask them, what are you looking for? If you're the left defenseman, what should you be looking at, right? You should be looking at the 4 right wingers that you're going to play against most of the game. Do you even know who they are? No. Well, do you even know their numbers? No. Well, check it out. And check it out when you're on the bench, because maybe 2 of them are not very good defensively. Maybe 2 of them do something different, but you should know that. Be your own coach, kind of manage yourself along, manage your group that way, and then get them to do more on the bench rather than just taking a ticket, going in the first row, watching the game. When's my next shift, right? I play the same way. There's all kinds of things that when you simplify this stuff, and that's what it's about. It's not trying to get overly complicated in terminology and get intimidated by it. It's just the idea of simplifying it enough to say, you know what should you look for that I could spend more time to get my mind simpler when I have to execute on that play? That's what I talk about bench management. Self-assessment reports, I gave you a monthly report to look at from a couple players. They analyze their shifts, they analyze their own development. They need to become in charge of their own development along with the coaching staff, along with the team. Everybody's in this together, right? Use everybody to their maximum capacity. Now you work on staffs, a lot of people. You have to become a people manager. The best coaches I know are people managers. They know how to manage people, they know how to empower people, they know how to bring people together. They know how to bring, so in order to win, everybody needs to be at full capacity in their specific area, including everybody. It's tough to win, but the only chance you have is to really empower and have that person. So the sports psychologist will walk in and say, how much access, for example, do you want to the team? I'm the head coach. I don't know, I think you're on the list, 100%. No, but the previous guys, they wanted 10% or 5%, or how much can I access the team? Like, I don't even take a course in your topic, let alone you're a doctor in the field, and you're actually going, how am I going to even assess you when you walk out? But here's what I want. I want you to be the best sports psychologist walking out of the event and say, I hit the ball out of the park. That's what you need to do to empower some people and say, you know what? You're not going to get in the way. You're part of the team, right? It's not like, oh, I'm the head coach, I'm the boss, nothing can happen, everything's got to go through me, I'm a micromanager, I'm doing this. Like, that's got to change, people. It's got to change. It's changed in business, it's changed in everything. It's going to change because you want good people around you and you want to empower them, and you got to give it up. So that's those challenges that we face with all of it. Measurement, audiobooks, podcasts, neutral zone retrievals, and scans. So deliberate teaching stages, then we'll get to some video. Individually taught for the first 3 months. What I say, and the reason is that as a group of individuals, when you get the who am I statements and you do the rest of it, you realize everybody's so different. It's like, holy jeez. And we're trying to teach them as a group of 7 all at once. So some people are going to learn, and some people have different skill sets they bring. Some people bring different backgrounds, different minds, different ways of learning. And we're trying to teach that as a group. So individually get them to a stage where they can bite off 1 or 2 concepts, and then individually what they need is then grow them into the second half. So let them work on their own with your coach and staff and kind of manage the individual. Get them all to a certain stage where they build confidence. You don't take it away, right? And a lot of people are either confidence injectors or confidence extractors, right? So that's the first 3 months. And then group teach them from there. Basically take them as a group of D and set some examples, because they all walk into that, they feel good about their game, they're all in one area, and manage them as a group from the second half on. And then as the playoffs, or I make a reference to, the band just has to play. It's like, David Reinbacher called yesterday, it's like, oh, my game was this, and maybe this, and hey, you're back from an injury, it's the end of the year, you've had a great year, you're gonna be a high-end draft pick. It's like, hey, what do you need to work? Nothing. Just go out and play. Go out and enjoy. So all your teaching's done way before now, way before the playoffs, don't panic. All of those things, but the band has to sound good, and you gotta let it play. You actually just have to give them confidence out in the ice and go, there you go. Don't be over-coaching and slow it down. Posture, the biggest element on a defenseman that is not taught properly. And without posture, it could be the keys to the car that unlock all the different things that you guys do so well about defensive skills and defensive strategy and how to play this situation and how to do that. Without eyes and without a mind, it's like a car without a steering wheel. So you end up and there's just no eyes. Like, it's like the laptop computer. And I tell the guys, without posture playing defense, I put my hands underneath the table and it's like, go operate the keyboard. And then somebody comes in and they say, oh, here's how we're going to play a 2-on-2. Here's how we're doing this. Here's how we're going to. It's like, it doesn't matter what you're doing because the hands aren't even available to the keyboard. And it's like the car doesn't have a steering wheel on it. So that's why I go over this. It's really, really important. And what I mean by posture, it's eyes. Your eyes are so important. Your back angle not being too low or too high. Your feet get wider. A clear indication a defenseman has lost confidence is their feet gets wide. They don't have a process off the ozone blue line. They get wide, they lose their mobility. Right? There's all kinds of tells in there. Sticks extended out, top hands close, neutral. There's those 5 or 6 elements. If you can solve those over 2 months, it's the hardest thing to solve. I have a new client from the LA Kings that's in his 4th year going to his option year just now. Did a review on him totally. The problem with it? He gradually lost his posture. So now he's technically a better player, but he's really not. And it's like he didn't realize it till you showed him. His eyes got down, his feet got wide, he got everything. Like lost his mobility. They don't practice in the NHL anymore. It's like you need to go rent some of your own ice if you play in the NHL to actually get some reps in, right? So you lose your skill set unless you're focused on those 15 minutes you get or the 20 minutes you get. Mitch Marner got a slide, used the same thing. Maverick Clammer has been a client 6-7, always look down. This is kind of a bit of a joke, but it's some of the pros I get do it. Some of the guys in the American League, it's like, here's a puck and here's a drink. Take a drink home, 15 minutes, take a puck home, put it on the table, ask it a bunch of questions. Take your drink of choice, have a smoothie, have a coffee, whatever. The end of 15 minutes or until the puck tells you an answer back, the drill is over. It's a very formal drill, but keep asking it questions. How's the weather going today? What's going on? When am I going to play tomorrow? How did I sleep last night? Keep asking the puck a bunch of questions and keep sipping your drink. At the end of 15 minutes, try it again the next day. right? Keep doing it until you realize this thing doesn't tell you anything, right? Doesn't tell you anything. Guy was 6'7", need to get him up, and playing like 5'7", 6'7", 5'7", 6'7". Took the puck around for a month. Got so tired of it, his dad calls it, geez, I'm tired of seeing the puck everywhere. Yeah, you're so tired of seeing the puck, I'm hoping you don't look at it during the games, right? That was the goal. Finally, the person came up and actually had hockey sense. It was amazing. Saw something, actually got their hands on the board and actually saw something and was like, wow, what's this hockey? Wow, cool. I'm gonna take a picture. I see something. My mind, the fuel to your mind is your eyes, and that's what's key. One of the best Selke nominees defensively with a great offensive skills and everything, and they asked him one night, there's little things you can pick up, right? And it's kind of like as a forward. Most forwards check the wrong way. They ever ask a defenseman how to check as a forward? They ever ask them to keep their eyes up when they're forechecking? Not many do. Him? How do you steal all the pucks when you're killing penalties and score all the shorthanded goals? I read their eyes. Ooh, what was that? From a Selke winner, or a Selke nominee. What's he doing? Like, that's pretty cool. Versus most forwards, if you watch them across, everybody's forward checking like this, watching that round thing. Everybody's gonna, keep asking it questions. It's not safe to do, but a clue there. Okay, posture. So you're gonna see here, right, back angle's low, hands too extended, only should be, an extended hand here should only actually come out no more than a foot. The only time you should be reaching for a puck is in the slot area where you're trying to deflect something off, right? The only time you should get out past here. Like, once it starts, then you lose your feet, right? Well, you lose your feet here. Look at the feet, no mobility. Hands out here, lack of confidence, back angles low. Everything is bad. 6'2" just became 5'11", right? Solvable. All teachable and solvable. Watch where it goes, can't move, can't do it. Showing the player this, we'll go to the next clip. Same type of thing. Right, same player, right? Just lost his back angle, now he's back to 5'9". There's his hands. Look, his hands are down below his shins. You'll see most D, they play D like this. You can get 20 clips of them like this playing D. Where do you go and practice like that? To play one-on-ones, but in games they do, because they have no posture. Right? Oh, that was a nice swish, thanks for coming. They're playing him, right? Key thing, inside, you'll see a funnel. It's always good. Give them the worst ice, funnel inside easy, early. Starting to make a change here. See his feet? Started to make a change. Showed him the video, couldn't believe it. Feet are together, heads up, finishing the check, good angle, right? Starting to come along now, all of a sudden. So it wasn't like, oh, his game or whatever. The keys to the car was his posture, right? Jacob Taboro plays on the Czech team. Just became a client, so he's out here, decent spot, right? For the one hand, sort of looking around and scanning. His feet are in here. This is a bit of a longer clip. We'll go through it, right? His feet are pointing into the other areas that aren't his. Needs to be pointed out, needs to get a count. There's only 3 people there. Count them and be aware. Lost his feet again. This is like one clip where all these little mistakes are coming in. Hand is opened up. Players will skate through an extended stick. Can't move. What do you think of that shift? It's like, well, not very good. Like you need to scan when you're out here, feet are pointing back on the puck again. Where's your area? Out in top. You needed to get in position earlier, watch him lose the traction in behind, his awareness, his eyes, 2 hands. Oh, check, maybe he's there. Oh, he got behind me. He's got the net. Very passive. 2 hands on the stick, sticks off the ice all the time. All kinds of mistakes going on here. Starting to get better. The clips roll through. A little bit of the ozone blue line here. based on the principles. Better job coming across, better posture now. All of a sudden, back angle's up, right? Feet are together. Stick is not extended, right? Better job. All of a sudden, gets the video, sees the video, comes back, making the changes in practice, making the changes to keep his top hand, being 6'2". Starts standing up. All of a sudden, it makes a huge difference, right? Right. Now he goes back down just because he's had such a habit, and he goes back down to the puck instead of just finishing the guy, but better, improving, right? So that's sort of like, here's where the issues were, and here's where, look, no stick on the ice, right? A nice jump there. This guy's got a stick on the ice to get the puck. It's okay. And he moves along. Walk through a few of these. 10 minutes, I better go. All right. No scan. Go over that. Should know where you're going before you get the puck. All right. Just staring down his partner. What about his area up in here? You know, keep your eyes. Do more with the 44 seconds than you do with the 1 second with the puck. What else can you do with your mind to slow your mind down when you actually get the puck? You'd be amazed, right? Right? Better, right? 2-on-2 here, a little bit better. Still need a tighter gap. Feet are better, hands not coming out. And then he gets himself back in this position again. Well, going to pin, his job is just to skate, stand up and pin this guy, stick on puck. There's a physical area where he looked weak, right? You say, by the way, you play in the Boston Bruins. It's like, Boston Bruins, they like to hit people. You know, you wear a Philadelphia jersey, you automatically become a hitter. Like it's just in it, right? So it's like, Jacob, you're playing for the Bruins, for God's sake. Like, you got to finish people. Like, you can't be down with your hands and your knees, right? That's as simple as it gets. So better here, look. Posture, back angle, hands in front, better position, better gap, better count. We'll go over it. Looks nicer there. Better position, better posture, right? Better posture. Go through it here. Watch this clip. Savvy gets extended. Wrong side. You know, he just misses him and he rolls back. 27 leaves the best ice principle for no reason. At this open here, look at his head down. Romanoff back in the day, a year or two ago. Same thing. Right? Better here. Better posture from both. There's a 2-on-2. Hands in a normal position. He's got his feet underneath. Eyes are up. Inside on top of his guy. So you can see the differences. Inside the dots, it's important. Forwards want to get there early. And you'll see in this play is most of the time, everybody's playing inside the dots. There's a way to play up ice, but just make sure before you go running away. You got McDavid here. Savard stops probably the third most shots in the league every year, block shots. All right, makes a great play. But he didn't rush out. He read the situation. He moved in there. Inside the dot lanes here. There's the puck. So right there, we're going to count. He takes his read, look at his head, scanning what he's got. This guy's on the wall, right? Nice scan. Gets a little bit down, does the squeeze mentality, and uses it effectively. Same kind of thing here, right? So right here, top hand's by his hip. Stick is down on the ice. Feet are in between, not wide. Right? Eyes are checking out what's coming and taking a picture. This is bad ice here. Leave them stay there, right? Most D will be over there pressuring. Find out what you have and stay within, and then make the decision. Next concept. So here's how you basically want to establish a gap off the O-zone. So between posture and establishing a gap, it's pretty easy. Every time a puck transfers from one team to the other, get both defensemen to count to 5, right? Who do you think they're counting? So the puck, Austria's got the puck, and I'm playing D for Austria, and then we lose the puck in the offensive zone to Finland yesterday, the shot, the D pick it up. What should the D do right away? They're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Takes a half a second. Like you get kids asking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's your first picture. It's your first visual, right? Who are you counting? Come on. Don't be like the players. It's a safe environment here. I'm not trying to make anybody look. Who are you counting, do you think? Them. Yeah. Yeah, the opponents, absolutely. So you count quickly to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both D's heads should go like this, right? And once you get to the number 5, you should actually move where? Up. Because the greatest thing about being from Eastern Canada is there were 7 players playing hockey. We weren't smart enough to actually play without using a count. Anybody can count to 5. You can play defense. It's your first picture. If you get to 4 twice, if Austria counted in the first minute of that game yesterday, what would have happened? That guy scored a breakaway, for God's sake. Yeah, he's behind you. So between you and your partner, it's like you get to 4 twice, something's wrong, right? It's simple. It's inventory, it's picture, it's a process. What's it feel like? You playing them. You're playing them now. I'm not just backing up, I'm following the puck, I'm doing something. I got 10-year-olds that say, hey, Boots, I've been counting, man. I've been doing my count. Okay, cool. And all the scouts up there for all the guys trying to get drafted, they're going, whoa, their awareness is right up. But I'm not going to tell the guys in the corner they've been forced to count. It's like that's all they're doing. But they're actually having a process to go up. You can use it in camps, right? So you count, you process, you grab ice, and then you act from there. That's your first picture off of every transition. Takes you more, it slows your mind down, it gives you an inventory. So here we go. Right? Ludwig Johnson from Sweden, all-star defenseman last year in the World Juniors, 83, right? Great skater, probably the best skater in the draft. It's unbelievable. It's like, whoa, man, you can skate like this. It's like unbelievable. He could be gapping up and doing. What's he got? There's the picture, right? So these are slides that are sent to the players, and it's like he's got to come in on the green line, watch where he goes. There's the flow off a face-off. There's 5 guys because they just dropped the puck unless the referee doesn't see somebody that's already standing behind you, but count anyway. It's a good process, right? Right, there's your 5, right? There's your 5 guys. You're okay, take the ice. Should have been here. Watch where he ends up. Right? So basically I send them a line. There's the green line. Here's the National Hockey League gap. There's the American League gap. There's where 83 should have been. That's where he should have rode it up, not just rode it back. Look where he ended up. Like, what's that? That's them playing him, right? As a player. Same thing. Watch what happens here, right? There's the 5 again, same issue. Don't know why. Don't understand it. Tell the player, don't understand it. Right? That's where he ends up. Right? They end up breaking out. Look where he ends up. Huh. Yeah, he makes a nice play, but it's back here. He's back in there. You can get anybody to do that, right? Critical here, same thing. There's your count. Puck just changed over. We're talking about Boston. There's the 5. They're all on one side. Oh, look. Look at our guy here who's improving. Anyway, he's coming up in here. He's coming over. There's the NHL gap. There's American. He's okay. It's getting better. It's getting better. Right? Oh, now back to there. Bad back. Reached out for no reason. All of that motion and all of that anxiety for no reason. Use your feet to defend and your body, not your stick, or dress your blade. Put your gear on your blade. And a lot of kids are so good with their blade that I basically say, like, what are you going to do first? We're going to learn how to dress properly. What's that mean? It means you're going to put your gear on your body and take it off your stick blade, right? Like you're going to bring it up to your body because your stick, you had such skill over the years, but somehow at some level, you're going to have to defend. Watch this, another play. So get it through your mind. There's a turnover, right? Boom, what are we doing? You're a defenseman, right? We're counting. There's the 5. Oh, look who's here. Jacob. Jeez, way to go, man. You got to count in and away it went, right? Good position, better posture. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Way to go, man. Big change. Now he's playing them all of a sudden. Swedes game, Matthias Havlid, right? Nice back angle, good feet underneath, right? 5'9" to start with. Moves the puck. Great play, right? Very good execution, compete. Kept his feet underneath, didn't stretch out with his hand, didn't do a lot of good things, right, from a posture perspective. Here's working with Noah Dobson. Skating, he's cutting it off, right? He has to count. There's the green angle. He needed to be higher. There's where 8 should have been. There's his road. That's what it should have been. Where's the count? It's not aggressive. They're playing him, right? Very passive style of defense. No process. You get to 5 and away you go. Same thing again. Look, where's 8? There's his partner. 8 should be here. How you come up the ice is how you get back, right? There's the NHL gap, the other gap, and there's his gap. Pretty weak, right? He's seen these clips a year ago, so it's like, it's not like, we're all working on our game here together. Dumps it in, playing Nashville. Look at the road. There's the 5, right? There's the route that needed to come up. You get to 5. If you're getting to 4, that's the route. If you're getting to 5, that's the route, right? It's the Carolina Rod Brindamore lab. It's not something special down there. It's just here. And you can get all your players to do it, right? Get the visual. Get coming up. Understand. You have something to do with those seconds that you don't have the puck to defend. Right? There's your 5 Nashville players. It's a little bit weak. Kind of a nice flow. How you come across with some speed up here will give you more speed when you pick up the weak play. Nice play here, which is what we're trying to do. And then you can chip it out and you can go to the weak side, right? And that's sort of how you want to play defense off the ozone blue line on every transition. Oh, okay. We'll switch his game. I'm running out of a little bit of time here. Here's some scanning. We talked about slowing your mind, speeding up. If you look at, this is a clip that would be sent to David. If you look at what he should have been seeing in the count, it tells you something. When all 4 are on the right side, there's the slasher coming across. The right side defenseman should have read that with his count. It should have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should have told him from the count, he's got 4 and he's got 1. That's what he's got. He's coming across. Right? So would have told him on the retrieval, right here, look at the whites. He should have already read that. They're all on one half of the ice. So just with a number side, he's got to go forehand and back up to the Air Canada sign or an indirect off to where there's nobody, right? And that would be an earlier scan. So it comes down to numbers again, right? He comes back up that same side and it's a turnover. Now he does a nice job here, right? Where's the white? So he scanned this guy already. He counted to 2, and he knows he's going to the weak side. That's his process. Right? When he's watching his own shift video, he already sees that. It's like, no, I made a mistake, or the D can tell you I made a mistake. I went back into traffic. Right? 4 whites on this side. Outside the dots, he makes a nice play. They come back, and he moves it out. Right. So there's too many players here. He moves out. So for that example, like on a retrieval, if you're going back, and we'll say this example in the essence of time, was if a player takes 1 look over their shoulder, I used to take 4. I've been taught now to just take 1. If you take 1 look as a defenseman over a shoulder, and you can see half of the ice here, what you're looking for again is them. If you see 2 of them in that 1 look, you're going to go, if you see 2 players and we're exiting, this is our zone here, we're exiting the weak side. All because when you looked once, you need to know what to look for, right? Think about the math. If you see 1 or 0 players by the one look, there's 3 over there. You don't need to spend some time and check and shoulder check, and you've already been at practice to know what the breakout is. So you should know safety-wise, you're going back and you're coming back up the strong side there because you did your one check. I didn't see anybody on the finish team. So I don't have to be going back and what do you look for? When you ask your defenseman when you're going back, check, and what are you looking for? Most of them will say my own centerman, my own this. No, they're not going to forward check you and take the puck off. You're looking for them. And if your partner actually is looking at the same thing and sees there's nobody here, he'll actually move over this side and you're coming out the strong side. That's when at the end of the year it's like, wow, we're cooking, man. There's no pressure. We're going away from pressure. All because we learned how to count and read before and know what to see. Right? I'll get through a couple of topics here. One of the biggest ones, shot velocity inside the dots. I went to the offensive side. Use of orange pucks is a big one for me. Shooting a lot. You score 50 goals in, summertime and through. Guys are using them all the winter, and that's just repetitions and gaining because the goaltenders are gaining more velocity as you go up the levels. You need to increase your shot velocity. Simple as that. Most players measure everything else from everything except shot velocity, right? It's something we need to measure. Ozone blue line, don't have time for that topic, but it's majorly like getting back into the middle. I call it the success logo here. One sec. So this would be called the success logo. Noah gets here, production's down. It's like, so you're gonna give this puck over here outside the dots and you've got everybody right in the perfect spot. It's like, come on, his confidence was lower. You could tell it was like, come on, take the bull by the horns. You're in the right spot, make the shot, right? Yet to hear the thing I'll say about this, you can count every opportunity that the puck goes low to high for your defenseman. If you set up a drill here in practice and you gave the puck low to high and got him to go to the success logo and trying to 2-on-1 that other forward, basically it would be unfair. The forwards would say, it's not fair, I'm not close enough. So why in the game, when this person's here, that's the only person gonna stop you, that when you get a puck low to high, why aren't you moving here? To create a better angle and to get more tips and actually 2-on-1, right? This is the person. So you really want to get here. Statistically, when you get inside the dots and through the success logo, your percentage of generation goes way up, way up. You can be outside here and get 2%. You can be inside and get 80%, right? I've seen it with a lot of the players. But get them to score their game with how many pucks went low to high and what you did with them. I got 6 low to high pucks. I'm 5 for 6 today, Paul. Hey, great job. Way to go. That goes into their own report. Right? Give them something to do. Give them something to measure. I think it's really important. So that would be something that is something to work on. As far as the offensive side, a lot predictable hockey, yeah. Structure. Advanced player principle. There's always 1 or 2 players on a team that score 25 to 40% of the play. You good? Okay, yeah, I'm over. Basically, sorry about that. You good? Well, they shut you down when you're overtime here. I know, yeah, you're tough. No. Okay. We'll just try this. Okay. There it is here. watch and provide some best video on some of the best players, this would be Matthews. He goes to the same spot all the time. About 9 or 10 times you'd send that out to a client. Here's where he's going. It's a little bit, Todd's talked about the pre-scout and things like that. It's nice to get sometimes those guys aware. Even our own D, he's going to try to get to the spot again. You know, he'll end up getting back there constantly, and that's sort of where he plays. If you see a trend or you see something that can help a D out, if you can stop some of their one person at any level, the best player, and give him an assist on the power play or something, it makes a big difference, right? Goes to the same spot again, and he's wired it in a bad gap. So that would be like an advanced topic later on in the year as far as game management is concerned. Oh. Game management, 2 clips here. Game management means score, time, clock, right? So it's basically who's on the ice, what time in the game is it. Here, Matthias Havlid sort of wants to generate more. I know it's within cultures and things like that to be a little more conservative. Makes the play. Referee calls a shot. He's a really smart player, looks right at him, should know the difference. Dives in, should dive in here. It's kind of a game management clip. Sticks off the ice, doesn't look like he wants to score. He's got to get inside here and be there. Ironically, the whistle doesn't blow. He could have been here, could have been down here. It's like a game management not sharp enough mentally, like should have picked that up. Should have picked that up, right? Right, and finally he ended up throwing it back around, and he was the one that caused not the scoring topic, but if you do that every game when you're sharp like that, you can get another 10 or 15 points. Last clip on game management, score here is 4-2, there's 6 minutes to go. You know, it's like, Savvy, what are you doing? You know, you end up being F1, right, for no reason, right? Became F1. And then the best guys are on the ice. The next thing you know, you get somebody playing D that's not good enough, and he becomes the last guy back for the defensive defenseman. So I would call that a game management clip and be like, by the way, you're not managing your game properly. The time, score, who, wrong decision, right? You know, or he's got 50 goals somewhere that I don't know. It led him into winning a cup with Tampa. Pretty nice player. We've reduced goals using the system, won a bunch of championships by using that D program and building the fundamentals over time, one at a time, from posture to not, right? Practice, a couple of suggestions here. There's no real practice for defensemen, to be quite honest. You're asking everybody to back up most of the week, and then on the weekend you're actually saying, oh, we need a tight gap. Like, which way is it? There's not a lot of practice in the game that you can get up and get your gap and get your posture and practice and force your forwards into actually dealing with a tight gap, as if you're playing Carolina. All of a sudden it's like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, well, I'm here because we're going to face them on the weekend. Like, that's what, but most of the time practice is terrible for the defense. It's like, you're just supposed to back up, your standards are bad, you want flow to a practice, but the D just get nothing out of it. So my suggestion sometimes is to separate the D and the forwards at least once a week, or at least you're trying, depending on your schedules. And then if you have to have a flow practice, go to the D coach and say, D, don't even look at it. Like, just look up at the ceiling when we're doing 3-on-2s or 2-on-2s or something. You just want us to back in. Don't even look at it, because Friday night we're going to have to play defense, right? And when you really think about it, you're putting, you know, everybody's communicating, oh, have a great gap, your gap's bad. Well, you practice the whole week. You know, I went to practice, it's terrible. But the flows of the drills were great and everything else. And the small area games come out, and I'm a new coach, I got everything. It's great. But then you put all the D and you put everybody back down in a small area game to here. Like, and then half the players stood up at night and the other half stayed down. And you're like, oh, you got beat again, you know, keep it up. Well, don't let them play the small area game later in the week. My advice, right? If you're trying to work on posture, you work on eyes, you're working on bringing them up. I love them. I love them for skills. I don't like them for defending and what it takes away from teaching somebody. Mix the pairs, list the pairs in different pairs during the week. So you see some coaches, always the first pair is the first pair the whole year, because they're the best player. Whatever. You go into coaches, draw them out of a hat. See who comes in the room. Draw them out of a hat and put them up on the wall. And see who comes in and says, by the way, coach, like just trying to ask what's going on after a week. Actually, I don't know. I'm picking them out of a hat every day. What else do you want to know? Does that bother you? You can't play as the second pair. You need to be the third pair. Thought we were a group of 6, right? It's kind of like, it's a mental thing, but it's like, don't just list the same. I had some players that want to be the first pair all the time in practice and then take it on. And then basically my advice, you needed to be the third pair for the first month of practice just to fit in. I've had some younger guys come out with NHL guys where the same attitude, going to be the first pair. And it's like then finally the NHL guy goes over and goes, hey, like, not today. And they handle it, right? And then the kid is like, well, what do you mean? I'm always the first pair. Like, mix them up. Screw with them. And drew it, oh, thanks for asking. I drew that out of a hat. There'll be another one tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe you'll be first pair tomorrow, right? And brush it off. Don't let the small stuff bother them and kind of maneuver through. And challenge your core from time to time in practice. Like challenge a set of D to go stop or all the D. Stop your second line this week. Everybody on your second line, they're not going to have a tough time scoring. See if we can frustrate them. See if we can play the one-on-ones harder. See if we can play everything against them. Pick them out as the target and then go something. Make that enjoyable during practice. Make it kind of something to do. Then pick the fourth line. Then pick the first player. Then pick your best player on the team. If you can't stop the best player here and he's going to score 80 goals in practice, well, then pick somebody else. Pick him and stop him. See how his week goes, right? So do a little bit more in practice. A lot of crossing over. You can play the opposite sides and you can do that. The point is, the other side about staying on your side, whether you're left or right shot, it doesn't matter, but we cross players at levels and for face-off purposes that really screw everybody's angles up. And we actually throw it into that and do that. So it's kind of like, why do we actually do that? We start the problem and then we can't get out of it. So think about those things. A lot of deep focus. There's a couple of drills. I'll show you this one. It's actually a shift. This bottom drill here looks complicated. That's just D, out alone. And this is the shift, right? And I can show you how to do that if you ask me some questions. This is the funnel drill, basically staying away, funneling inside. That's bad ice. That's what we say. You can paint the ice. We paint the ice. That's bad ice for a D. And there's some drills there that I tried to include just to give you some premise of it all. Mistakes, last point, mistakes in the NHL. Have a player understand their own game. Some guys come to me and they say, why didn't I make it? Why aren't I not drafted? What am I trying to do? It's like teach them how to evaluate their own game. And in the NHL right now, you can keep your job at about 6 mistakes a week. 3 games a week. If you want to standardize, that's about 2 per game. You can be one of the 7. In the American League, just a small spot closer, it's 9. Amateur level, what do you think it is a week? Any guesses? Like below those 2 pro levels. University hockey, whatever, for the way that we would analyze once you put the program in. 36, right? So a player, if they get to understand their own standard and take away the question, if you're being assessed all the time, it's like going to university and not getting a mark for a class. You're being assessed, you never get a mark back, and it's frustrating for players. And then so the nicest way is to say, you score your own mistake, you won't score your own shifts, you learn. If you can get your mistakes down to 9, you got a chance, you're still evaluating. But I've had a lot of players come up to me and said, Boots, I did it after 2 months, their tears were in their eyes, and then they said, I could only get it down to 20. But I'm okay now, because I know I wasn't good enough. At least I got the score. And sometimes help them out with assessing their own stuff so that they know. That's what's most important, not necessarily somebody else. So defense, you play them. Thanks for your time today. I tried to give you as much as I could, went overtime, but the idea was sharing as much information to try to get posture, get counts, and hopefully you can take that with your groups and play better defense and enjoy it while you're doing it. Thank you very much.